Hello, beautiful people. My name is Emmanuel Emeh, and I'm here today to discuss the book that we have been reading or we've read several weeks ago, which is the book "Who Moved My Cheese?" And I know that there's a quote, to that book out of the maze that we have read. Even as we are gathered here, and I know that one thing that we have in common is our desire to make 2026 the best year of our lives in terms of attaining our goals. And of course, you must have heard me say many times that it's not just setting goals that's important. Anybody can set goals. Everybody sets goals. But it's the mechanism, the internal mechanism that you adopt that will determine who meets the goal and who does not meet the goal. And today we're going to be talking about fear. We're talking about procrastination. We're going to be talking about the internal dialogue that goes through our mind, even as we discuss this book of the maze. But goals are some just sets and you just hit it. Remember the introductory class that we had before all this began? That will tell you that most people who set goals never made those goals. Now, this is not something that you will start saying like we normally do in our culture, that you say, oh, God forbid. That's just the reality. What separates the people who meet their goals and what distinguish those who meet their goal and separate those who don't meet their goal is the internal components, the things that they adopt. Now, you might want to think, if you look at the diagram that I'm sharing right now, let me get my slide pointer at this time. Hopefully, my laptop will not disappoint me. It does sometimes. So when we look at this diagram, we don't think that our goals not something that we just go boom, 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 I will just go. That's what our ambition is. But in real life, the reality of it that those goals has to go through all of this. And I'm sure you've discussed all of this in your classes, in your cohorts, but what I'm here to do today is just to throw more light into the things that we already know. Remember, if you hear something once, you will know. If you hear it twice, you may remember. If you begin to practice it, it's going to stick with you. So the environment, all right? Let's define the environment and your objective. If there was environment, everybody will know their goal. If there are no natural forces, if there are no things that are going to stop you, everybody will meet their goal. And thinking about that, I want us to ask ourselves today, if you knew for sure that nothing could stop you, if there was nothing to stop you, will you actually dream more? Will you meet more goal? So this is the environment. So we do have to define the environment. And the environment is the maze because it has all kinds of corners. It is the unknown. And so what happened is when some of us adventure, we just hit one, let's say, lucky break. Let's call it, we hit one lucky break, or maybe it could be a job, it could be an accommodation where you live, it could be friendship, it could be anything. Tendency for us to hold on to it is always, it's like it will never go, it will never die, it will never, and we hold on to it without thinking. And that is when those things leave us. When those things leave us, that is where we are now in that area of shock. So we now need to ask, so who moved my cheese? The cheese was always here. Okay, every XYZ of the month, I always get paid my salary. I've been living in this neighborhood for donkey years. I've been living in this house for donkey years. This is the house where I raise up all my children. This is the house where I got married. But now the landlord said, I've sold the house. You have to move. But in your mind, you have never thought about moving before. You see, that's the same way it happens. So you look at the inevitability. Okay, inevitability of change. They say that the only thing that is constant in this world is change. Change is constant. So you have to start thinking about change. No matter the cheese that you have, right now, it might be your job, it might be friendship, it might be your club, maybe your club winning. And you think they're going to win forever and ever and ever. Things actually change. So your ability to adapt to change is what we are talking about here. That ability to be able to train your mind so that just like as the Boy Scouts were taught, you have to be prepared. So in this story, we introduced to four characters. Interestingly, I can explain it in a very to a 5-year-old. Let me do the 5-year-old explanation. They are made up of two human beings and two mice. Okay, one mouse, two mice. Okay, two human beings and two mice, and all of them were meeting in this cheese station C, where the cheese is always there every morning. All they have to do is to put on their running shoes and go there, and you find it. It's like you having somebody sponsor you in school, maybe your uncle, maybe somebody there, and you're like, you are living a lush life in school. And there are a lot of people like that. Maybe they're on scholarship, they are whatever, and one day the uncle dies and all their life comes crashing. Or one day, US aid or US something say they're not giving money anymore and everything, because they were never thinking it was going to end. So what's the difference between the human beings and these mice? Now, normally, we would think that human beings are smarter. Yeah, they're actually smarter. But unfortunately, because of the makeup of human beings, we have complex brains. We overanalyze things. We worry. We do. But mice, they don't. If one road blocks, they just go look for another one. Look at it. Whether they are lower animals don't have the complexity that we have. Human beings are very, very complex by nature. So when the cheese begins to go down, they're observing it. They were like, don't worry, it's going to be there again. They begin to notice, first of all, the cheese is going down. The cheese is getting stale. Maybe where you walk, right now, you can sense that the cheese is getting stale. How do you know the cheese is getting stale? The way the management are treating you. Or market forces are beginning to change. That thing that used to sell before is no longer selling again. Like, for example, generators are not selling as much as they used to sell. I better pass my neighbor, Tiger. Right now, solar is taking over. That is where electricity hasn't improved. Like, where I live, electricity has improved way better than it was 7, 8 years ago, 5 years ago, even 4 years ago. So when you begin to observe the market change, that's when you begin to prepare to make your move. Prepare to make your move. But people always stay as if nothing will happen. So we have this character. You've read it. The first one is sniff. I mean, even their name will tell you they sniff out things, right? One is sniff, one is scurry, always going on. The other one is harm, and the one is haw. And look at their character, the character. So you have to ask yourself, are you a sniff? Are you a scurry? Are you a haw? What are you? So do you always anticipate change in your life? Or does change always come to meet you by accident? We need to train ourselves to always anticipate change. So let's look at these charts that I have here. You look at the scurry is here. Scurry has high agility. It's scoring for things, high agility, but low complexity. If the more complex you are, the more you're going to get into what they call the paralysis of analysis. When you overanalyze things, think about in your job. You've been in the same job for decades. Are you thinking about good? Maybe when you got your maybe your diploma or your first degree, that time you are like the only person with a diploma or a first degree. But 20 years down the line, you need to upgrade. People don't think about that. Then Hall has high agility. It has high complexity. Okay, Scurry has high agility but very low complexity. Or has high agility, high complexity. Processing things is fear. Oh, if I go out, what's going to happen to me? If I want, just do it. All of you here, I'm sure you know, I moved away from from a life. Not a life. No, I didn't move away from a life. From an occupation, something that occupied me for 31 years. 31 years. How many of you today will stay in one job for 31 years? When you leave, what can you go to? And you're not living to a similar role or a similar job. How will you do it? I'm going to share how I was able to do it. But all these principles are the things. It's all about preparing yourself ahead. Then let's look at sniff. No, sniff has moderate ability. Okay, it doesn't do, but it just kind of very cautious, sniff things out, monitorability, low complexity, then is very, very observant, sniffing things out. You are testing their surrounding, you are testing the economy, you are testing you begin to notice that there seems to be a shift that there's going on. Today, people are talking about AI. Listen, I got my certification. I did my certification something 2 years ago in AI. I did it 2 years ago. I remember when I was, leading regions and everything. I remember doing PowerPoint. I was the first, leader to actually do anything in PowerPoint here in Nigeria, maybe West Africa too. I remember somebody coming to me or, commenting and say, "Oh, what's the man they do, Seth? Now to come show television for church, like I'm showing TV, well, because they are not thinking. They are not, thinking ahead. They years down the line, you see them begin to now, go scoring everywhere. They will have ham. Ham is low agility, high complexity. This guy is paralyzed, by overthinking. So who are you today? So the Bible talks about renewing your mind in Romans chapter 12. So your mindset needs to be, renewed. I'm not praying or saying that, things will go negative for you, but that's just the reality of our life as human beings. We say again, the only thing that is constant in life is change. Change will always happen. And we also say that no condition is permanent. If we know for sure, that these things are true, why are you acting as if you are the one of life and death? So we need to begin to renew your mind. I think mixing your goal, one of the first things to renew your mind. Okay, you need to renew your mind. God said, "I'm making everything new." In the book of Isaiah. Then of course, Romans says, renew your mind, transform by renewing of your mind. Now, I'm going to take you back a little bit into some of the assignments that we did during our this thing. Remember your accountability check. I want this week, in the next 1 week, I want you to go back to your accountability checks again. Okay, if God removed my current source of comfort, okay, I would mostly fear losing this, or I would mostly fear losing that. What was it? What will you be of? Will you be able to pay your rent? Will you be able to pay your bills? Will you be able to take care of your family? What are you going to do? So let us start by renewing our mind. Let us begin to confront the paralysis of the maze. Nothing will eat you up. Okay? We need to be able to go out there. If you need to take a course or two, talk to me. If you don't know, where to go, how to do it, begin to add value. Not because you lack faith. Let me tell you about faith. The Bible said that Abraham faced the fact that his body was as good as dead. So faith really is a response to the fact. But if you don't even want to look at the fact, you're going to have faith. So faith is being sure of what you are hoping for. You don't have it. That's the fact. It's the certainty of what you do not see. So, and I think it starts by you imagining, what kind of life do you want to live in the next 2 years, in the next 3 years, in the next 5 years? Where do you want to be? You see, if you cannot even imagine it, how can you desire it? If you cannot imagine it, you can't desire it, then you cannot walk towards it. So it has to be renew your mind. Begin to desire the things that you want. And that's what that book is talking about. Because the day that the cheese will move, that day you are going to be surprised. So let's talk about the power of imagining new cheese today. You see, on one part of this diagram, the fear of the unknown. If you focus on the loss, what you will lose, then once you don't know what that thing is. But if you look at what you want, it is the vivid imagination of the new cheese that you're going to focus on gaining. So begin to think about it. Every week I set out time. Sometimes I do it unconsciously. I begin to imagine. I imagine where I want to be. Even this week, I've imagined my August. I have about 3 to 4 major events. I've imagined myself being in Jos. I've imagined myself being in Abuja. I imagine myself hosting about 2 events. Whereby I've already gone. You know why I can go there? Because I'm preparing. So that's the power of imagination. So you need to be able, if you don't have something to look up to, You can never see it. If you have never seen a car before in your life, you never heard about a car. If I say car, you cannot, there's no image that's going to come to, to your mind. God told Moses, he took him to that mountain and said, you should go and look. This is where, the promised land is going to be. God told Moses to send out spies to go and look at it. God took Abraham and took him out in the open field and said, you look up the skies, if you can count them. You need something to be able to focus on. And that's why today, a lot of people today, sometimes people, maybe they want to be in a particular shape. They'll go and get the shape they want, maybe a picture of the model, and they put it on at the gym or at their treadmill or by their fridge. That would be a motivation. Now, putting a picture is not enough for you to lose weight, but that is something. That's about imagination. Begin to imagine. So, what do you visualize? Today. So that is where courage will now come before clarity. You don't get it because you know where you're going. First, you must have the courage. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know whether it's going to be good or it's going to be bad. I don't know what tomorrow holds. But what I can do today is to have courage. Courage is for the present. What I'm going to do. That is what faith is all about. Faith is not about you knowing what is there. It's about what you are hoping for, what you do not see. So I think today, as disciples and as people in this program, in this BPM Sound program, we need to begin to now confront our fears. If you knew that fear is not real, will you go out there and actually do it? There are so many things that can confront us today. I'm going to be leaving these slides for us to go through. And if you're watching and you can pause and go back and take a look at this diagram. You don't have the time to go through it. Look at this diagram. Look at it. What do you see? For many of us, we rather looking forward. The Bible talks about leaving what is behind, Philippians, and straining forward. Many of us today, we are looking back. How can you be driving? How can you drive successfully if all the time your eyes is at the rear mirror? What are you looking at? You are going to have accident. So leave what is behind and focus on what is in front. That's what the Bible says, Philippians. Forget what is behind. That is the old cheese. That old cheese is gone. And press towards what is new, what is come. That's the new cheese. And Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5, talks about trusting the Lord, as your navigator. Okay, God will lead you in it. You just have to have, have faith. New cheese is the answer the possibilities in your life. It could be your career, it could be your finances, it could be your health, it could be your family, it could be your faith, whatever. What are the new cheese? Then begin to now write down the blueprint that's going to get you there. About explain this thing to a 5-year-old. That's actually how I began. I asked myself, if I were to explain it to a 5-year-old, this is probably how the slide is going to be. Now you can take a screenshot of it and every single thing. So you need to move with the cheese. The cheese will keep moving. So you need to move with the cheese because it will always move. So that is how your journey out of the maze is going to be. So before we look at out of the maze, we must all move. As the cheese is moving, you are moving. As trends are changing, you are looking at it, you are moving. And that is what controls the wildebeest and all those animals. Millions of them that travel from the northern part of the northern part of East Africa, all those to the south. What control? They don't have a GPS like we do today. They follow the cloud, they follow the rain. Because where the cloud goes, rain is going to be there. And where there is rain, there's going to be green grass. So you see, animals that are not complex, they just know how to figure things out. But because of our complexity, we know what the focus is going. But we say, what if? We begin to paralyze ourselves by so much analysis. So today, I want you to just drop all those things and just have that daredevil kind of attitude. What the Queen Esther said, if I die, I die, man. Remember what those beggars, those lepers by the gate of Samaria that went to go and see those things. He said, if you go, we'll surrender. If they kill us, we'll die. Of course you die if they kill you. If they don't kill us, we'll live. So that is it. Many of us today have never taken any risk in our life. Maybe that's where you are still where you are. So you come every day and there's cheese. because their cheese, you don't have any worry. But when the cheese begin to get stale, rather you to be able to figure out what's going on, you begin to complain. All of a sudden, at your place of work, they are maltreating you. Your entitlements are not given to you. They are whatever. Those are signs that this cheese is getting stale. So rather than you being entitled or complaining, you need to question what is going on here. So question your limiting belief. Why am I still here? What am I supposed to hold me back? Is fear. Then action will reduce fear. The only way to know something is there is by going out. So when you go and we take action, you're going to this there. Somebody said that fear is false evidence appearing real. FEAR. False evidence appearing real. When you go out there, it's nothing. When I was younger, as a preteen, in the night when there's no light, I'm afraid. So I really grew up with the lights on. It is, the first time I started switching off the lights when I'm saying this, when I got married. Not because I was afraid of turning it, but because it had become part of my life, part of because I grew up, because I'm afraid. Because when there's no light, the curtain is like somebody is behind the curtain. You begin to imagine, but those things are not there. But you are acting the same way you would have if those things were actually there. So, but by the time you break, there are opportunities. I pray that 2026 will be a great year for everyone. You're going to get agility, you're going to have humility, you're going to have faith to put all of these three together. I look forward to a part two of this. But before the part two, let's ask ourselves questions. And I want you, after watching this video, I want you to put the comments in your general in your BPM general group, where the link is going to be posted, obviously, but you're going to be watching it on YouTube. I want you to ask yourself, what is it? I want you to write down. It can be a yes or no. Write down, are there things in your life when you look back now that you believe that you could have achieved if you didn't allow fear to take hold of you? If you look back at your life, are there things that you could have achieved in your life if you hadn't given in to fear? Number two, are there things that you are losing now because you are giving in to fear? Second question, are there things that you are losing now because you are giving in to fear? And the final question, how are you going to begin to approach all those things? Okay, write down 3 or 4 things. Okay, write down the situation in your life. It could be in your health, in your academics, it could be in your relationship, in your faith, in any area. And write down 3 to 4 things that you're going to do today to confront that fear. I look forward to sharing with all of us. Make sure if you're leading a cohort, make sure you mobilize all your cohort members. Make sure that everybody is interacting, because the next 1 week we are going to be having a lot of interaction on who moved my cheese. And I also have some mini videos that I have produced, and I'm going to be sharing to also buttress the points of what we are talking about. So continue to believe, continue to strive, continue to excel in everything they are doing. And like nobody say in the business world, I'll see all of you at the top. Have a wonderful week. Yes.